Good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Gordon, and I'm the director of the Atlantic Council's Nuclear Energy Policy Initiative. And on behalf of the Atlantic Council, the Idaho National Laboratory, and the University of Alaska Anchorage's Business Enterprise Institute, I'm so delighted to welcome you all to Anchorage, Alaska, for today's Frontiers Project meeting. And thank you to everyone who woke up bright and early and joined us on this rather chilly morning in Alaska. And thank you as well to our global virtual audience who are tuning in from around the world. We are streaming live at ACTV and also live streaming at AC Global Energy. We have an incredible program today. And I am so delighted to introduce the Honorable Daniel Sullivan, who is Senator from Alaska, who so kindly provided pre-recorded remarks for us.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks. And it's an honor to be able to say a few words to this year's Frontiers Project. We're so glad you're hosting it in the great state of Alaska. To all the Atlantic Council members, welcome to our incredible state. We're so important in so many of these areas. We are the home of all of the above energy. You need it, you want it, wind, solar, oil, gas. We got it all. Hydro, highest standards in the world on the environment. If you're doing a project in Alaska, you have the highest standards on the planet Earth, no doubt, better than any other place. And energy and natural resources, critical minerals, all of this is so important for us in Alaska, for America, and indeed for the whole world. Now, why is it so important for us? Well, one thing I like to do when we're in hearings and Senate floor speeches back in DC is provide a synopsis of a study done by the American Medical Association from 1980 to 2014, a 25-year period where they looked at life expectancies rising in America and also, unfortunately, in certain places, falling, right? Here's the bottom line on all that. The place that had the life expectancy increase more than any other place in our country was Alaska. In some places of Alaska, almost 13, 14 years. I like to ask my colleagues in the Senate, give me a policy indicator of success more important than are the people you representing living longer. There isn't one. That's policy success. We've had it in our state. Why? The regions of our state that have had that dramatic increase in life expectancy, started unfortunately from a very low level. A lot of our Alaska Native communities, very low life expectancy relative to other Americans, but there are also places where natural resource development, energy development took place. The North Slope, the Northwest Arctic Borough, out on the Aleutian Island chain. And so for us, energy, all of the above energy, resource development, literally a matter of life and death. And it's helped our communities so much to live longer and have better lives. There's zero doubt about that. So all of the above, let me give you a couple examples of some exciting things here. Of course, you know, we are the home of Prudhoe Bay, the biggest oil field in North America. Still cranking, a lot of big discoveries happening to keep our pipeline filled. The Trans-Alaska Pipeline, one of the great energy engineering marvels of our country. Go take a look at it. I hope you get to see it. 800 miles, several mountain ranges, just a marvel. We also are a place that's becoming very attractive and some new innovations for the potential of advanced nuclear technology. That's exciting. The Air Force has recently chosen Eielson Air Force Base for one of their first projects. As a matter of fact, I had a really good meeting with the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force in charge of energy installations just yesterday in my office. He's going to be in Alaska soon to be looking at this Eielson project, which has enormous potential. And then finally, in terms of enormous potential, we are working on a very big, very important, very strategic for America LNG project, the Alaska LNG project, what we call AK LNG. This is the only fully permitted project on the west coast of America. It has the backing of the federal government in the infrastructure bill. We were able to get the full faith and credit of the United States government with federal loan guarantees. And this is a project that can make sure Alaskans get clean burning natural gas for decades, and importantly, our allies in Japan, in Korea, in Taiwan, other places. We literally have enough natural gas, which we don't even have to frack. We have so much on the North Slope, conventional gas, to supply America, Alaskans, and our Asian allies for 50 to 100 years. That is a fact. Some of you might know that Alaska was the first place anywhere in the world to export LNG. We started exporting LNG to Japan in the late 60s from our Cook Inlet oil and gas basin. This next step, the AKLNG project, will be from the North Slope, where there is a massive amount of stranded gas. So stay tuned on that. Very exciting. Like I said, we are an all of the above energy. And as we look at our challenges right now, particularly the challenges of authoritarian aggression from the dictators in China, dictators in Moscow, one of our great strategic advantages we have over these countries is energy. American energy, produced by Americans, Alaskans, with the highest environmental standards in the world. We need to produce it. And that way it'll help our citizens, help our allies, and help us defeat these dictators that we're going to be dealing with for decades to come. So, have a great trip in Alaska. To all the Alaskans, thanks for all the hard work on energy. I know this is an exciting project, and I hope people learn a lot more about the great potential of our great state. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Senator Sullivan, and thank you as well to his team for putting the video together. And now for our first set of keynote remarks, I'm so delighted to introduce Dr. Michael Goff, who is Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary for Nuclear Energy at the Office of Nuclear Energy at the U.S. Department of Energy. Mike, come on up. The floor is yours.
First, let me note, I assume this is working okay. Okay. Let me note, I also extend thanks to all the organizers for this event, for the Atlantic Council, Jennifer especially in putting this on, but also for the University of Alaska, the Business Enterprise Institute, and also Idaho National Laboratory. And I should not forget all those frontier states, you know, Alaska, of course, what I still consider my home state, Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah, and also appreciate you all coming to participate here. I should note I'm very happy to be here, and I should note that's not just because my alternative was to stay in DC and look about what you do during a lapse of appropriation. So I'm very happy to be here, and it's not just, again, not just because of that. But I'll say it's really because of the discussion that we're having here, you know, looking at advanced nuclear, that you know, things are, and this is one of the things I'll try to stress through my talk, things with nuclear are very different now. There are very new opportunities now in the nuclear space that the frontier states like Alaska do have the potential to take advantage of. So happy to be here and talk about that. And again, noting too, what I consider still my home state of Idaho also has those opportunities. So happy to kind of go through and talk about those opportunities that we have to potentially take advantage of nuclear and how nuclear has changed. Especially I'll note over my 35 years working in nuclear, there are big changes. So again, my name is Mike Goff. I'm the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary in the Office of Nuclear Energy. I should note the Assistant Secretary, Dr. Catherine Huff, sends her regrets that she's not here, so you're stuck with me, so my apologies on that. So as far as starting off the talk, I wanted to really talk about, again, how nuclear has changed. So like I say, I've worked in the tech field with nuclear for the last 35 years, mainly at the national laboratories, but I really spent all of the last 3 administrations working the policy side, whether the Department of Energy, a stint at the White House, and now back again at the Department of Energy. And the thing that's really unique, especially again looking out of the whole career, is how there's always that strong support right now. I mean, we really have had very consistent, strong support through all of those administrations. And I guess the other unique thing is it's not just strong, it's continuing to grow. It's on an upward slope and a continued upward slope as far as support, which is not something I had early in my career. And looking at some of you out here as well, was not the way a lot of us had early in our careers working in the nuclear space. So there is that, again, very strong support. And especially at a time right now when we're hearing there's not a lot of agreement on different topics in Washington. You know, one of the few topics that there is agreement is on nuclear energy, that there truly is bipartisan, bicameral, between administration and Congress. There is very strong support across the board. And again, that's been very consistent in Republican and Democratic administrations. You know, in the current administration, if you have not heard Secretary Granholm talk about nuclear energy and the importance and role of nuclear energy, you know, I encourage you to go out there and Google and look at some of the events. I mean, what she is continuing to stress is you can't meet the various climate goals without nuclear. And you get that very consistent message across the administration. In fact, I even noted last week, Special Presidential Envoy Kerry was on a morning public show, and he actually said those exact things. You can't meet the goals without nuclear, and then started touting some of the deals that we've been working with our international partners. So there is just that strong support, and that's shown in our budgets that we have from the Office of Nuclear Energy. You know, when I started working in the administration, you know, our budgets were in the $800 million range. We're now about $1.8 billion as far as annual budgets. And then we also have things like the passage of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act. Those were significant events with respect to energy, but especially with respect to nuclear. Nuclear benefited greatly from those. Both the existing fleet, making sure they can continue to operate, both of those bills had things to help them continue to operate, but also to be able to move forward on advanced technologies. You know, one of those, actually, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law included $2.5 billion to support one of our advanced reactor demonstration programs. First time I've ever seen where in the Office of in Department of Energy, we had multi-year funding to support our reactor activity. So, you know, again, the support is just very strong. So again, it provides us a lot of opportunities as we move forward. So within the Office of Nuclear Energy, what are we doing? What are we focusing on to move forward nuclear energy? So we do focus on 3 different areas. First one is we want to ensure the existing fleet continues to operate. That's 93 reactors out there. Very happy that it is 93 now. We added that last one in this past month at Vogel. Hopefully we'll have 94 sometime in the next few months as well. But we want to keep them operating because they're providing right now almost 20% of our electricity and about almost half of our clean energy generation. The next thing, though, is we want to make sure that we're deploying new technologies. And that's one of those key topics here. How do we move forward on accelerate the deployment of new technologies? Then we want to make sure that we also can secure our overall fuel cycle. We need a secured, sustainable fuel cycle, including both the fuel and how we're managing the fuel at the end of the process as well. And finally, we want to be able to make sure we have more international cooperation in this area. We're doing this development for us domestically. We want to deploy these technologies. We want to make sure our allies and partners can benefit from this as well. And so we want to be able to make sure we have more and more international collaborations in this area. So that first priority, the existing fleet, again, that is very important. We're doing very critical work in that area, things that will benefit advanced reactor technologies. We're doing demonstrations right now to demonstrate the existing fleet can produce hydrogen. You know, we have one that's already, one existing power plant that's already producing hydrogen. So we're doing work like that. We're demonstrating that we can extend the life of these plants, to 80 years, possibly even out to 100 years. So these are really long-term assets we're talking about trying to deploy. We're working at bringing down the operating cost, so doing a lot of work in that area. But really today I want to really, for this audience, really talk more about the advanced reactor technologies and deploying that. Because again, that's essential. We need to, for our energy security and to meet our environmental goals, we have to deploy advanced technologies. So first I should step back and say, what are advanced technologies? We have a lot of nuclear engineers in the audience here, and my guess is we'll all have a slightly different definition of what advanced technologies are. So I'm going to give you my definition. My definition is it's reactor concepts that have increased passive safety features. So it includes everything from the AP1000 that was deployed at Vogtle to the small modular reactors and the micro reactors, especially that we're talking about here, the Generation 4 reactor. So it's what we in the business call from Generation 3+ reactors on to the Generation 4 reactors. So it's fairly broad. And one of the unique things about that broad definition is there are a lot of different options out there. And again, that's one of those things that's greatly changed. It's not just you're deploying a big or a bigger light water reactor. There are a lot of options out there. We still have the big reactors that you can deploy that, that meet that definition of advanced reactor technologies like the AP1000. But we also have small modular reactors. So again, going in the definition space, small modular reactors by definition are anything less than 300 megawatts of electricity. So we have those that can deploy, but we have the standard light water reactor, small modular reactors, like the NuScale reactor and the Holtec reactor and the BWRX 300. We have those type concepts, but we also have different coolants. So it's now not just water. We could have these reactors being cooled by sodium or high temperature gas or molten salts. And the applications are going now much beyond just electricity. We can produce electricity. We can also provide process heat and all as well. So the nuclear, it's not your father's old nuclear technology now. There's a lot of different options out there as far as when you're looking at trying to deploy these things. And again, how you deploy them. Again, not just for electricity, but going beyond electricity as well. So with that, that does make, there's a lot of attractive options now for nuclear. You don't need to have large grids necessarily just to deploy. You can have microgrids. You can have remote communities, like especially in the Alaska area. You can have data centers. You can have businesses. You can have military installations all looking at deploying their own type reactors. So again, there's a lot more flexibility right now as far as how you move forward on that. So what are we doing at the Department of Energy in order to accelerate those deployments? We do the traditional research and development to be able to enable these technologies, but we really have moved beyond that to we're really focusing on deployment. In fact, if you again go out and look at Secretary Granholm speak, one thing that she says over and over is our goal is to deploy, deploy, deploy. So we are working now a lot more through public-private partnerships to deploy some of those first reactors so they can be de-risked so that you can you can quickly get to the nth-of-a-kind type reactors. So one of the things we're doing, one of our projects in Idaho, we are working with NuScale under the Carbon Free Power Project, where again we have a public-private partnership between NuScale and UAMPS being the utility to deploy one of the NuScale reactors on the site of the Idaho National Laboratory. Again, wanting to be able to deploy that. This is a water-cooled reactor. They're looking at trying to deploy 462 megawatts electric by the 2029 timeframe. So we're again trying to do that in public-private partnership to again help start de-risking so not everyone's having to do nth-of-a-kind type cost. Through our Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, we're also supporting 2 other demonstrations that begin out of the Office of Nuclear Energy. So one of those is TerraPower's looking at deploying the Natrium reactor in Wyoming and in Kimmer, Wyoming at a retiring coal plant, with Pacific Corp being the utility for operating that. So again, we're working to move forward on this reactor, and this is what we call a Generation 4 type reactor. It's sodium-cooled, fast reactor, metal-fueled. So again, looking at trying to deploy that, and I guess one of the things I also note that's real important with that too is Pacific Corp and all now are looking at, again, how do they continue to deploy out additional reactors and all as well in their region. One of the other projects we have, again, under the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations is looking at X Energy deploying their XE100 high-temperature gas reactor, TRISO-fueled pebble bed reactor. They're working, they don't have the standard utility model, they're working with Dow Chemical. So they're looking at deploying at a Dow Chemical facility in Texas to be able to use the process heat from this high-temperature reactor to help them, decarbonize their generation of process heat for their industrial facilities. So those are very critical projects that we're, again, working in public-private partnerships, DOE funding and industry funding, to be able to move forward those technologies. Additionally, though, we want to make sure that we're continuing to develop those next-generation technologies as well. So we do have some other programs that we'll call kind of more in the risk reduction area or the concept development area, where, again, we're doing public-private partnerships to de-risk some of the technology associated with those next reactors. So these are reactors that would be more deployed in the next 10 to, say, 14 years. And there we're working with companies like Holtec, Kairos, Southern Company and TerraPower again, Westinghouse Electric with their eVinci, and BWXT with their Banner reactor as well. We're also working with General Atomics on their high temperature fast reactor. MIT has a reactor concept and the arc reactor concept as well. So again, we're working with those concepts to be able to de-risk the technology as opposed to necessarily de-risk the initial builds. So we're trying to do a lot of work to make sure these technologies are ready for moving forward. One of the things that's especially important for this area, we're trying to do a lot of work also with our other departments within the U.S. government to help move forward those technologies as well, especially on things like microreactors. So I know as was already mentioned, the award announced from the Air Force on the Alaskan Air Force Base, that's moving forward. We've been a partner helping Oklo to be able to help move forward their technology as well and in their demonstration of their technology. I know we'll hear more from Jeff Waxman later today about Project Pele and the microreactor that they're looking moving forward. That we've been able to, we're working together with our Department of Defense colleagues to be able to demonstrate that concept at a Department of Energy site so we can use the DOE authorization to move forward and accelerate those initial deployments. So again, we're trying to also work with our different colleagues. I don't know, we also collaborate with the NASA folks and all as well as far as on demonstrating additional technologies. Because again, we want to make sure we have these technologies ready to deploy here in the near future. That third priority that we're focusing again is on the fuel cycle. So a lot of those advanced reactors that I talked about out there use fuel that's called what's high assay low enriched uranium. So it's fuel that has uranium that's enriched between 5 and 20%, or less than 20%. Right now, there's only one commercial source for that high assay low enriched uranium, and that's Russia. And as we've learned from Russia's unprovoked and unjustified invasion of Ukraine, Russia's not a very viable long-term partner for us in the nuclear space and for our allies as well. So we are working to move forward to establish capabilities to produce high-assay, low-enriched uranium. Luckily, the Inflation Reduction Act did include us to be funding for us to go forward to work with industry to incentivize industry to deploy that capability, and also hope to be able to move forward also to help us in the standard low-enriched uranium area to get us off of the use of Russian fuel, because our existing fleet right now does rely on roughly 20% of the enriched uranium for the existing fleet comes from Russia as well. We need to make sure that we have U.S. capabilities to replace that, or U.S. and allied capabilities. So that we are doing, we have programs to be able to set up to do that, and we're also working with our allies and partners in that area as well. So as we're looking at moving forward in these technologies, we do recognize there are challenges. There have been cost overruns with nuclear. In case you haven't heard that before, Vogtle did cost a bit more and took a bit longer than they wanted to as far as on deployment. So we are trying to make sure that as we're going forward, we are looking at the lessons learned from that. So the department did, back in March, put out a report on commercial liftoff. They actually put out 3 reports looking at what you have to do to obtain commercial liftoff in some advanced technologies. The 3 they put out were on hydrogen, battery storage, and nuclear. And the nuclear one was real important and started looking at how do what were those lessons learned from Vogtle that we need to as we're moving forward? How do we improve financing and all as well? What are some creative mechanisms for financing models to be able to, like, say, share the risk of the nth of a kind across multiple groups? But we're trying to implement those things as well. But I guess one thing I really want to stress from that report was, and again, this is getting toward the importance of nuclear, is that report identified we have to have advanced nuclear. In fact, the projection from that now is we need 200 gigawatts of new nuclear capacity between now and 2050. So we need 3 times the amount of nuclear that we have right now. which if you start looking, if you assume we don't start that build out rapidly until the 2030 timeframe, it means we've got to be deploying from 2030 on at rates that were probably almost higher than the most rapid we were doing in the 1970s and all. We really need to get this technology ready for deployment. There is, again, very strong opportunities in this for different states to look at, what role do they want to play in this? Whether it's, again, deploy the technology, but also looking at the supply chain itself as well. There's, again, a lot of opportunities for these new technologies, but also looking at the industry that you can support as well. You can provide power to be able to expand out your industry base as well. So, again, I think there are multiple opportunities that can come from that. I should note, if you're interested in that liftoff report, the website for it is energy.liftoff.gov. I recommend you taking a look at it as well. So again, the key thing to stress here is, again, nuclear is new, and there are extremely good opportunities going forward on this. From the political space, the technology space, we have a lot of opportunities here for moving forward and deploying these advanced technologies. And again, I think Alaska and these frontier states have, again, very strong opportunities to take up leadership roles in this. These are new technologies. Some of these, the supply chains are going to be reestablished for that. Where those supply chains are going to be established will depend on where technologies are deployed and all as well. And I should stress, this is a huge opportunity not just for us in the United States, for internationally as well. If you look at the projections for nuclear cells over the next decade or so, it's somewhere on the order of a $1.9 trillion business. There are strong opportunities, and our international partners are very much looking for U.S. technology to step in and provide leadership in this. And we've made some very strong headroads in that area as well. I mean, some of the things that, I don't know if you've seen recently, the U.S. government working with our partners in Poland announced that the Poles are going to deploy 3 AP-1000s working with the U.S. Working with our colleagues in Romania, they're moving forward with the deployment of NuScale reactors. So again, we're having a lot of success internationally. So it's, again, good opportunities as we look forward. Where do these technologies get deployed domestically to be able to move forward on this? So again, looking at the Alaska's potential leadership in this area, that there again are a lot of opportunities. The technology fit can be very good, especially the microreactors here, the potential benefits for the communities, the end users, for both industry, the military, state, region, and the nation, must be considered. But as people are looking about these technologies, really looking at the views of the communities and stakeholders are critical, that they have to be part of this process, have to understand how things have changed, and have to make sure that you have that strong support. Like I say, congressionally, we've gotten to where, in the government, there is a lot more of that support, but we need it still at the grassroots level. So making sure those engagements occur to make sure that the communities are supportive, I think is very critical as we're looking at assessing how we do move forward these technologies. And again, I don't think I can overemphasize, the roles that microreactors can play, especially, again, in areas like the frontier west and all, with their opportunities to be able to provide very long fueling, where you can have 5 to 10 years fuels, which provides some great benefits for places like Nome, especially, that's had challenges at times being able to get fuel into the port at times. So, and with this, again, it's not just the power. There's very good jobs that'll come along with this as well. Very nice, high-paying jobs. So again, we are trying to focus. How do we move these technologies forward? How do we work with the different states and communities to be able to move forward? You view the Department of Energy as your partner, and as you're looking at trying to make these decisions as moving forward. I do want to take this opportunity to also note, too, that we as well want to partner here with the Office of Arctic Energy. Erin Whitney here, I saw somewhere this morning. Oh, there she is over here. Erin Whitney's a director here. I will note, I think this is the only regional office that we have within the Department of Energy here in Alaska. So they are a great partner. We've enjoyed working with them. I will note us in the Department of Energy are also excited to be able to enhance those collaborations and provide a nuclear person here in the near future to focus on nuclear issues within the state of Alaska. So we're very much looking forward to that continued strengthening partner with the office, but with the states here as well. So again, the maturation of advanced nuclear technology simultaneous with the heightened global demand for energy security and climate mitigation make this it really is a once-in-a-generation type opportunity for how we move forward in the deployment of these technologies. And it's really very critical as far as looking forward how we do this and moving forward in a very timely manner. So again, happy to be here, happy to hear the discussions looking at what the opportunities are, and thank you again for your time.
Dr. Goff, thank you so much to you and to the Department of Energy for such an excellent overview. And now I'm delighted to introduce our next keynote speaker, Colonel Daniel Craig, who is Director of Logistics, Engineering, and Health Services at Alaska NORAD Region and Alaskan Command at the Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson of the United States Air Force.
All right, so good morning. A warm thanks to our keynote speaker, Mr. Goff, and virtually Senator Sullivan for their wonderful insights to this cause, and to our gracious hosts for ensuring that we have the airspace for this dialogue. As for me, in this audience full of experts, I'm the guy that's just thrilled that his parachute opened on the first jump. And I'm looking forward to really taking this energy conversation to new heights. And clearly, Alaska, expansive and rugged, dynamic terrain, it really provides us a unique perspective on energy. And for the DoD that's operating here in Alaska, it isn't just fuel for us. Energy is the lifeblood of our operations. So just like our Alaskan cities, our communities and villages that depend upon it, so does every facet of our military operation. So if you think about the roar of our jets, the illumination of our runways, all of that is possible because of energy. Now, it's not just about the machines. It's also our daily operations, both on the ground and in the air. And they show a broader challenge in unique terrains like the Arctic that present. In my role, I see firsthand the daunting terrains that our personnel navigate and the very extreme and risky conditions in which they operate. And every time, the mission is clear for us. Whether it's delivering that vital lifeline fuel or ensuring that our installations and our systems are always powered. But let's take a moment to ponder. Are we keeping pace with the shifting energy dynamic? And then shift our gaze to regions like Alaska and the Arctic. And it's evident to me more and more every day that these areas demand more than just attention. They require a dedicated focus. I mean, the remote, harsh landscape really underscores the extreme logistical hurdles of maintaining a consistent energy supply. And for the local communities, a loss of power isn't just an inconvenience. It can mean life or death in certain situations. And the stakes for the military are similarly very high in this region. One energy lapse, and we risk both our operations and our personnel. So the narrative is clear. Whether it's for civilians or the military, energy is undeniably a lifeline. And this realization underscores the importance of platforms like this one. And here we're graced by a forum of experts from academia, government, industry, and tech. So we have an opportunity to further unlock the potential of emerging energy technologies. And while our discussions might be rooted in today's challenges, our vision should extend beyond the horizon. And undeniably, the military's ability to operate, it hinges on energy. And this becomes all the more evident when we consider the firsthand accounts of those directly in the field. So we have a term in the Air Force called bingo fuel. And this isn't Friday night bingo, right? For any military aviators in the room, this is probably a familiar word for you. So bingo has its roots in World War II. It signals the critical point at which a pilot has just enough fuel to return to base and not a drop more. And when a pilot declares they've hit bingo fuel, the gravity of the situation sets in. They're likely to tap on that gauge. They're going to tighten their harness and offer a silent prayer because they know At that point, that every decision they make is a balance between mission success or conserving fuel. And any miscalculation could actually result in mission failure or worse. Likewise, the Army soldier on the front lines might say that they're going black on supplies, whether that's ammo, fuel, or rations. And going black for a unit pushes them into a corner because it says that they're at their operational limit. Both of these terms really underscore the razor-thin margins of our forces and what conditions that they operate and the risks that they face. And yet this energy significance, it extends beyond the confines of a battlefield. So consider this: the stress and the uncertainty that a pilot feels upon hitting bingo fuel isn't so different from the anxiety a city, a community, or a village feels during a major blackout. When communities or military installations lose power, the consequences are immediate, impacting everything from basic comforts to critical infrastructure. And at its heart, the challenge remains the same. Ensuring reliable access to energy has always been and will continue to be an imperative. And the challenges are as dynamic as the Arctic ice sheets. It's ever shifting, ever evolving. And so our responses, therefore, must be both timely and forward-thinking. So for our future military environments, they demand agility with solutions that are both flexible and robust to support a range of uses, from remote forward operating sites to more permanent bases. So when considering future technologies, we're drawn to several operational tenets: mobility, deployability, and a streamlined chain from a logistics perspective, simplicity, adaptability, and reliability for our dedicated engineers who operate facilities and systems. And for those that are charting the operational course, mission assurance remains paramount. So to wrap up, and speaking directly to the experts here, your insights are absolutely invaluable. And as we inch closer to a new era in energy, the words of the great physicist Marie Curie resonate. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. So together, let's forge a resilient and sustainable energy future. Thank you.